Welcome to the Harnessing Your Divine Feminine show, hosted by Andrea Bagby. We believe that when you give a woman an opportunity, you give her the world. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our videos.
Hello, welcome to Harnessing Your Divine Feminine. My name's Andrea, I'm the host, and this is Felicia. Today we are turning the tables. Felicia's going to ask me questions, but also we're just going to see what happens. And that is a gift. That's an art. We're going to see where life takes us. Life has taken me here so far.
Okay. What I would like to know is, and everyone else would like to know, how did HYDF come into existence?
How did it come into existence?
Mm-hmm. Like what year?
Oh, let me think on this.
How long you been doing this?
I think it was like 2011, maybe 2012. And I had a friend look at me and go, we should have a retreat. And, you know, I had been teaching things and teaching spiritual classes and doing things. And I was like, yeah, we can do a retreat. So I did it and I put it on the internet and I had like 20 women sign up. And I didn't expect to have 20 women sign up. And I was like, oh no, we need a cabin big enough for 20 women. So you
started like bare minimal, like
we had no money. We didn't know what to do. There was
just roll with it.
No experience. But so and then magically women came forward and said, no, I'll help with the food, I'll teach a class. So we rented a cabin in the mountains and we had women sleeping like wall to wall on the floor, in the beds, everywhere. No one cared. It was just a slumber party. And we learned about spiritual concepts and we laughed and talked all weekend. And then it was exhausting. And I lost a ton of money business-wise because I didn't understand overhead or profit or any of that, right?
That's a huge part of it.
So I thought, well, that was fun. And I just forgot about it for like a month. I didn't worry about it.
After the fact?
Yeah. I thought, well, that was a one-off. Like,
okay, so you didn't plan on...
I didn't plan on another one. And then I started getting requests. Well, when are we doing it again? And I was like, again? Like, do you know how much work that was?
And here we are.
And they were like, well, we'll help. And I was like, okay, we can do it again. So then I was sitting in a coffee shop. And, you know, I was a one-man band. And I was sitting in a coffee shop and it just fell in my head, harnessing your divine feminine. Like it just fell in from God. Like, this is what you're going to call it. And I was like, okay, it's harnessing your divine feminine. So I went on the internet again and put another ad out. And then for the first 2, maybe 3 retreats, we were in one cabin where it was just like, we would have like 4 or 5 women even sleeping in the living rooms. It was just like packed. As far as I know, I was the only one in Georgia or probably the South even that was offering a spiritual retreat that was not Christian or Catholic, okay, or there was not a religious requirement to be a part of.
That makes sense.
And now that I look back, that's why it was a hit, because mine was like completely open, completely like, hey, you can be anybody. Just come this is a safe place for you to ask questions about spirituality and just life and like just things in general. And then I am proud to say that I know of, I am the first women's retreat who opened the retreat to transgender women. Oh, okay. And I remember, because that was back when we still had big pride parades. Like we really had to fight for rights in the LGBT community, right? So I was already looking at, it was before we had, just before we had a lot of rights. Just in general in the LGBT community. So I was working against several things when I started this, about how I literally would call to find space for us and be like, hey, we'll pay. We're not even asking for a discount. And they would literally say, I'm not renting to a bunch of women. Like, where are the men running this? Have your male boss call me and we'll talk. Like, and this was between 2010 and 2015, I kind of went through this. Like, have your boss call me, ma'am, and we'll talk about it. And I was like, I am the boss. Like, and so then, and I didn't argue. I just went on my happy way. And then there was always a space that opened up for us. Yeah. And then and then we were going, and then we had this whole like, well, this is a lesbian movement. This is a thing. And honestly, a majority of my market has always been women between the ages of about 35 to 65-ish, 70-ish, heterosexual women. Like, that's the people who signed up, right? Of course, we had very few lesbians actually come, really.
Yeah.
And then we had very few transgender women actually come. But I'm very proud that I did the right thing. I'm very proud that I was like, no, if you live as a woman and identify as a woman, you're welcome to this retreat, regardless of your background or whatever. Now, even with the women, I had a lot of explaining to do as to why there was a transgender woman in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was interesting.
It was who were they in a room with, and blah blah blah. And I don't want to room with her. Like, I had a lot of questions, and I had to go to bat for this person, and I didn't mind going to bat. I know who I am, and I knew what I stood for, so I just set the boundaries. And then, because I think I held that energy of knowing who I am and what I stand for, there was really no argument after the top. And the woman that went was completely...
Well, it's probably a learning experience for the people, too.
Yeah. The woman who went was very okay with, like, telling her story and answering their questions, which I think is the key. If she had been secretive or scared about it, it probably would have caused more conflict. But she was very like, yeah, I'll answer your questions. Which, should we have to live in a world like that? Like, honestly, not really.
Be realistic, yeah.
But it made even me and all the other women, it was the discussion of what really makes a woman. Is it breast? Because there's a lot of women who have to have their breasts removed. Is it your ovaries? There's a lot of women that don't have ovaries. Are you going to say, or does that fall into not a non-woman? So once we dove into that, suddenly the conversation stopped because people were like,
oh. It was a different perspective.
Yeah, right. You dive into a different perspective, and then the consciousness just expands. So we do that with all topics at the retreat. We expand the consciousness with all topics. And then, so we were in one cabin, and then I remember the year we did two. It was 2015 when we expanded to 2 cabins. And that was just a whole lot of fun to organize. But we still had women sleeping everywhere, like all the things. And I still had women coming. They didn't care if it wasn't the Marriott. They didn't care if it wasn't. I was like, look, this is kind of campy. Like, you can come, but I'm full. You can come, but you need to sleep on a sofa. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, yeah, okay, I'll bring my air mattress. I'll bring my sleeping bag. I'll come. I just want to hear the speakers. I want to learn. I'm like, okay. Like, so now it's a huge compliment. And I have husbands call me and say, I'm signing my wife up for your retreat.
Yeah, they don't even know it.
I'm signing my wife up for your retreat. And then they'll say, she's happier when she comes home from your retreat. And I'm like, well, that's a huge compliment. That is
a compliment.
That's huge. How the divine masculine should be. That's an accurate depiction of the divine masculine. And I had one woman say, my husband follows you and said that you were ready for the retreat, and he signed me up. And I was like, that's cool.
It's a true story.
It's a true story. And I've had women that have been with me for years, and they fall, the goal is that they go and they create their dreams from the tools and resources we give them. So when they fall out for a few years, they usually come back and end up teaching or telling us their adventures that they've had in the world as a woman, a spiritual woman.
And I have agreed to teach the next retreat.
Yeah, I'm excited about you teaching. All the women love you. So when you came to me, you were like wanting to be with me, right? And I was like, does she realize that she's taking, like, I was a little hesitant because I was like, how do I explain that there's like 20 women that like come with me? Like, these women are devoted.
Yeah, this is not just her. I was like, I married 20 other women at the same time. Not literally. Not.
No, now they ask for you more than me. They're like, where's Felicia? When you're not there. I'm like, but I'm here. So yeah, it was, you totally, when you have me in your life, you have like a whole tribe.
That's true.
Yeah, it's a whole tribe.
And an experience.
Yes.
A good experience, though.
It is a good experience. And it's not for the weak of heart. So then I decided, the first retreat, I had a schedule written out. And the first retreat, I was working at a daycare, and I was sitting in there, and the kids were napping, and I was like, oh, I should probably write something down. I should probably create a schedule for this retreat. So I got out a marker and construction paper, and I wrote down a schedule. And then I went to the retreat.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Show the picture of it.
And then I went to the retreat and people were like, well, where's the schedule? I was like, well, I have it written down on this construction paper. And they were like, we have a copy of that. And I was like, well, that would be good. I should do that next time.
So you learn just by experience and
Yeah.
each retreat, something different.
Right.
I know that you still do that. Like every retreat, you'll take something from it. Well, how can I better this? How can I expand on it?
Oh, yeah. I totally.
Every one of them, you've always, like, you see what you can take from it, how you can grow from it.
Yes.
As a person and the retreat for everybody else.
Right. You have to look at every project of how can I do it better. That's what you do. That's how you
one
grow.
thing I say about you. You do that. You're very good at that.
So we, and now, then I decided, well, okay, I was just printing out like Word documents with the schedule on it. And I realized that I was just wasting a ton of paper. And now we have a whole magazine, Harnessing Your Divine Feminine magazine. Get your copy online or see me or email me and I'll mail you a copy, where we feature women.
Good stuff.
It's good stuff. And
lots of good articles too, learning about different things.
Yes.
Spiritual-wise or women's journeys. It's really cool. Yeah,
I want to hear stories and stories of triumph and victory and, helpful things. And my dream is to have them on the magazine, on the grocery store shelves. I go and I look at those and I look at them. I'm like, move over, Vogue. Here I come. So we have to not stop dreaming and continue to say, what can I do next for my process? And we have to let go of the idea of it looking perfect. And we have to let go of the idea of having some, like the universe should be enough for your backing. Does that make sense? Like you're not necessarily going to have some huge corporation come back you, because by the time the huge corporation wants to back you, you should be fairly established. And at that time, that's a whole different negotiation. But a startup is really like you in the sky, right? You in the universe taking steps. And I think that's a big misconception in businesses, like that before you start up, you're going to have the backing of some like huge thing.
No, that's why a lot of them fail and give up.
Right. Because when you're just true startup, it's really just you and your gift.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like you against the world and doing it.
And how much you want it.
Right. How much you love it. If you don't love it, it's going to fail. Like I loved it. I didn't care about making money at those retreats. Like I just loved it. So yeah. And then if you don't love it, it's not going to work. You
got to have passion in it.
Yeah, you got to have some passion in it and the ability. Your brain's got to be able to flex too. Like your brain's got to be able to change and learn new things.
Not a lot of people can do that.
No, and that's because we have to have consistent self-development. Okay, so if you have consistent self-development, your tower moments are going to be smaller. A tower moment is when the world comes crashing in on you and you have big change or it could be like
the tower card.
It can be like the loss of a job or it could be good too. Or, you could win the lottery or get a better job or like your house just starts falling apart or the car or the somebody in your life or your health. Right. So when you're consistently working on yourself, those moments become smaller and less dramatic. There can still be some stress involved.
Or it creates change.
Right. It creates change.
It's for creating change.
It's for creating change. So when we have tower moments in our life, we have to look at it and go, how can I make this better in the future? Or what did I learn from it?
And that's exactly what I did when I was in the hospital. The heart thing.
That was a big tower moment for you and me.
It was huge.
It was huge for us both. And no, you had to learn completely like a new way of living.
Yeah.
And I had to learn like a new way of supporting you. So, and then you had to learn like about it, being open to a support system.
Yeah.
And going.
I didn't realize wasn't like that.
Right.
That was a learning curve for me.
And then managing your health, which is a whole thing that I think people have to learn. Like if we're managing our health and consistently like self-developing on any level, your tower moments will become smaller. Like it could have been bigger for you. It really could have been. Like you could have gone and just had a whole heart attack or stroke or not. Even the nurse was like, I'm surprised she can walk. Like, and had you,
and I was like, I got it.
Had you not had the self-development that you had already had, it would have been worse.
I know that.
So the tower moment for you was not, it was very bad, but it wasn't as bad as it could be. In life, we're supposed to like make the tower smaller, right? Like it's with finances, with friendships, relationships, health, everything with food.
Healthy relationship with food.
Yes, a healthy relationship with food is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Learned a lot about that with the retreats.
What, retreat?
Yeah,
retreat?
I've learned a lot about food through their.
Well, you got different people, diverse appetites,
culture,
diverse
like
tastes.
everything, like
you got allergies.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
So, and then it's very interesting to watch each woman in their relationship with food, and that's a generational curse on women, and
really and truly,
it just absolutely the generational curse on women, like absolutely. Because I remember, and I was telling somebody though that it was never a partner that made me feel like bad about my body. It was never a partner that did that. It was my parents. It was my mother. Because I grew up watching her look in the mirror and say she was fat.
Yeah, because we watch.
Yeah, we model what a woman's supposed to think and do.
Yeah, when you're in like elementary school, you shouldn't even think about your weight at all.
So
the common, some kids that do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. So I was on my first diet in 2nd grade, and I wasn't like a huge kid. I was on my first diet, and I remember it was like 2,000 calories or something. And
2nd grade.
Yeah, and they put it on the refrigerator for me to look at. And I remember it was so sad because they had to hang it low for me to look at because I wasn't tall enough. And I remember they showed me like, this is what you can eat and you've got to stay within these calories. And I remember that, and I remember going, I don't even understand this. Like I knew the math behind it. I could read well. I understood I understood I wasn't really supposed to be eating. But I was like, this is just too much to wrap my head around. Even in 2nd grade, I remember thinking that. And then looking at pictures of me now, it's not like I was not like huge. Like they made me think that I was like just some gigantic kid walking around.
No, they were just projecting them.
And then I went, and by the time I went through all the crash diets. When I was in 7th grade, I joined Weight Watchers with my grandmother. And she was a lovely
7th grade.
In 7th grade. We would go to the meetings on like Tuesday nights, and they would weigh you every week, and you would hold your breath and pee and do all the things that are not healthy so that number would go down, because that's all that mattered.
So what does hold your breath do?
Like, just you don't want to look at the scale. I would be like, like I would hold my breath every time they would.
I think that's every woman on the planet.
So, and I was in 7th grade, and again, looking back at the pictures, I was just normal, like so, and. Then I'm 15. So this was just my relationship with food. Like the restriction, I remember dreaming about food. Like I would wake up and I would be dreaming about eating in my sleep because I would go to bed hungry. Because it wasn't enough food really allotted for an adolescent. Like, and then I went to, and then we had the Bible diet. Remember, you didn't remember the Bible diet.
No, I watched a documentary on some woman.
Yeah, the really weird, skinny looking woman. She
the Bible, is that where it comes from?
It comes from the actual Bible. It's in Ezekiel.
Oh, I know that. I eat Ezekiel bread, so I know about the Bible.
Yeah, it's the Bible diet, and I think there's some in Daniel too.
But it's just strictly like certain grains and certain.
Yeah, and
I know that bread I get. I'm used to it now. I like it.
It's not like bad food. It really is food from the earth. It really is food from the earth. But I just don't think
you just put out verses every time you eat.
Yeah. No, it comes with them. It comes with like Bible verses that you live by while you eat and do all the things, but it's restrictive. It's restrictive to today's society. The Bible diet was meant to eat during Bible times.
Okay.
Like right when they didn't have grocery stores and farms and things, and when they didn't, their lives were different.
Yeah.
So it was pretty restrictive, and then so I did that. That didn't last long because like I was just hungry, and then I went in. you know, it was just a roller coaster. And then at 15 years old, I was super, super just depressed, like super depressed. And I couldn't figure out why. Because I remember even telling my mom, like, I know people love me. Like, it wasn't like I felt unloved. I was just super depressed and overwhelmed all the time. And of course, I was.
Well, you had all these expectations on you.
Well, it was a lot. It was like, be skinny, be a virgin till you die, but also have kids, be perfect in every way. So and have a boyfriend that you're not supposed to have sex with because then you're bad. Like, so then I was like, it was just weird. So I was just overwhelmed. Now looking back, it was overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that, I couldn't like do math. Like, I was in special ed. They tested me for everything under the sun available to test for, and they couldn't find anything wrong with me. So they were like, well, we don't know what else to do with her, so we're going to put her in special ed and learning disabled. And I was really only in there 1 hour a day for math because I just couldn't wrap my head around math. But honestly, who can? I don't know. Like, 50% of kids can, 50% can't. I don't think either one is learning disabled. But
No, you were actually very psychic.
And I remember them taking me out of school and taking me into like other buildings and basements and stuff and putting me through all these tests. And actually, I have another friend about my age that went through the same thing, and we met.
They did that to me in daycare.
They did that.
Mm-hmm. And I just have I always thought I kind of made it up because it was kind of in the back of my mind.
Because it's weird.
And I thought I made it up, to be honest with you, all these years. And I'm like, I didn't make that up. Like, I remember the desk. I remember them putting up pictures for me to look at.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
Right.
But I only have like a figment of memory. Like, I don't know if I blocked it out or what, but I vaguely remember that. I know exactly what daycare I was in, what day it happened. My dad come pick me up, of all times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it very well. But that was the weirdest thing. I don't remember nobody testing me. And
it's bizarre because you think, well, that didn't really happen. Because you don't want to think that it really happened.
It was like ink blots.
Yeah. Yeah. And then mine was like I had to wear headphones. And
I remember being so proud of myself afterwards. Like, I was so excited.
That you thinking, like.
And then I'm like, did that even happen? No, it really did.
Yeah, it really happened. Because it happened to me, and it doesn't happen to very many kids, but
I don't think my parents knew about the testing.
I don't think mine did either.
As a matter of fact, I know they didn't. My mother would have been all over them.
So when my mother had been like, "What are you doing?" Because there were certain things in school that they used to take me away, and they wouldn't let me participate in.
So weird.
And so I just thought it was normal, and that I just didn't do it because I wasn't smart enough or something. But then by the time I was 15 and in high school, I was just super depressed. And I went to my mom and I was like, I don't know why I'm so depressed. I just want to die. Like, I just want to kill myself. But I didn't like have a plan. Like, literally, I had no plan to kill myself. But you know what it was? It was the energy in my household was so bad that I just wanted to die.
Well, that's the empathic nature in you.
It was my empathic nature.
You literally take on.
Like, now that I'm older, I know that it was like just someone else's energy in the house. It wasn't even like me. Like,
and that takes a lot of discernment as you get older, practice, maturity, and discernment to figure that out. That's not your energy.
So when I was 15, so my mom was on top of it. We had a psychiatrist in the family. So my mom immediately the next morning called the psychiatrist, and I was in therapy. The next day we were in family therapy. And this was the first day that I realized that I could create change. And I didn't know that I could create change. I just thought that my life was just going to be a series of people putting me in rooms and testing me and not really being good enough. So I went to the therapist and I was like, look, I don't know. I just want to die. This is bad. Like, I don't have a plan. Like, I was in color guard. I enjoyed that. School was not terrible in high school. Like, they had stopped testing me for the most part. But I had friends. I had like a few friends. And so I remember being, I don't know what is going on, but I just can't. I told the therapist, I was like, I just can't. And so looking back, it had to be a little comical for her. Like, looking back, I'm sure she was like, this girl just said, I just can't. And so they took me out of the room and they put me in a room and they gave me like soda and snacks. And they were basically like super nice to me. And I was like, I remember thinking, this is either really good or really bad that they're being so super nice to me. There was no testing. It was literally like, let me make you lunch in this like other little room in the office. And then I remember, and then they came back to get me and they were like, okay, you can come back now. And I remember looking down the hall and the back door of the office was an ambulance. And part of me was like, they're about to put me in there, you know. But I wasn't hearing voices. Like literally, I was like, I don't actually want to die.
It wasn't for you.
It wasn't for me. And I went back in the office, and the woman said, well, your dad's not coming home with you. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. This was amazing. I was like, thank you. Like, thank you. Because his energy makes me want to die. And so I was like, that was the first day I was like, my voice created that change. And it really
You knew there wasn't nothing wrong with you.
I knew there wasn't wrong with me. They sent me back to high school and let me do color guard and did my thing. Like, I didn't have to see the inside of a psychiatric facility like my dad was trying to say that it was me, right? And that was the first time that I was like, wow, I just created change with my like little me, right? So then I went through that, and you know, we've talked about on this show like the cultish implications of church sometimes. So I kind of had that, and I kind of survived from then. And that was really the start of harnessing your divine feminine. It's the idea that you can create change with your voice and asking for help. And it's not that it was necessarily the man that I'm against, right? Like I'm not against, there's a lot of toxic men. The toxic masculine should be stopped. We should create change around the toxic masculine, but not the divine masculine. The divine masculine is like Mario that creates space. He provided space for us to have this in. So I decided my like stable intuition was like, oh, well, I'm going to go film at Mario's studio now because he provided that space, that safe space for us. That's what the divine masculine does. And it doesn't have to be romantic. It's just what you do for families and communities. That's what healthy men do. The toxic masculinity says,
shout out to Mario.
Yeah. Like Mario, I have other men in my life that do that. Like say, oh, what can I assist you with? Like, how can I provide a platform for you? Right. Or some sort of stability, provide and protect. That's what the divine masculine does. When you should just do it. When the divine masculine is providing and protecting with you, that is a green light. Okay. And it can be friendships, bosses, anything. Kids, right? When I go over to a woman's house and their son is like mowing the grass, or you can tell that like that son may be 15, but he's expressing the divine masculine. Like, I've been to women's houses and the children are like, what can I get you to drink? Like they're doing the stuff, like the kids.
Not the parents.
No, not the parents, because they know the proper way to express their divine feminine and their divine masculine. Right? So then we have the divine feminine who comes in and nurtures and creates. And like I nurtured and created harnessing your divine feminine. And I nurtured and created, you know, the magazine, the people, the women. That's what I do. When I have the retreats is I'm nurturing and creating. And that's why
it's empowering.
Yeah, I empower them. I want women to feel empowered to create change with their voice.
How many businesses you have influenced women to do is unreal.
I know. I get so excited.
It rubs off on me too. I try to encourage y'all.
I get so excited.
Like, just go for it.
Yes. I'm like, you can do it. It's not a big deal. Like, it's not a big deal. Now, and it's harnessing your divine feminine is not at all against men at all. It is a way to give a safe space for women to create, nurture, and create themselves so that they can be better wives and mothers for their communities and their families, whoever they're married to.
Makes a very powerful woman.
Yes, it does. It does. Because you can tell when my team, I call them Team Fierce because they're fierce. When they walk in the room, like the energy changes in the room, like cattiness stops. If you notice, when one of those women walk up, you're like, oh, one of those women, they're speaking. And I love that. And because we nurture and create each other. We nurture and create our dreams together versus like, you know, toxicity. Like, oh, if something's wrong with you, then I'm okay. That's the toxic feminine. There's definitely toxic feminine in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? That says, well, I've got to step on your back to get where I'm going.
That's common though.
It's very common, and it's just a misconception. That's not what we're about, like at all. And we are a for-profit business. We're not a church because we want everyone to be free to do what they want. Like, I'm never going to tell anybody or anybody in my team what they have to do. It's not like a consequence based.
No, you
thing.
can't do that anyway, because I mean, if you did that, that would take away their free will.
Right. And I don't want to do that. Like, I'm not saying, well, my live this way so this gets you a ticket to heaven, or this makes you a valid person or a good person. I'm just like, hey, what are your dreams? And I hope this helps. That's it. Like, I hope that these.
I don't know how many times she'll get a text or a call from just random, like somebody you hadn't talked to in a couple of years, and they were like, "You've influenced me so much. I started this business up," and she done like, it's been a couple of years. You know, how many times
no, I forget.
Calls, and I love that.
I do too. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. So
it makes it worthwhile.
Yes, it does. That's the pay.
That's what makes it worthwhile.
Right. Like, I may not be cashing in huge, but it makes it worthwhile to see women that don't come from a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
That don't come from like,
with your influence, I've seen, I don't know how many women like that. And it makes me happy.
Thank you. It makes me happy too. And now you're doing it. I've seen your business grow, and you'll be like, I've got a client. And then I've watched you learn different things and how to run a business and have clients and do all the things. And we always have to be open for growth and to be able to change. If something doesn't work, I'll change. I'll be like, that didn't work. I'm doing it a different way.
Yeah. A lot of people don't like change. Well, I mean, who does really? But I mean, it's necessary.
Yes.
Change is necessary.
We have to keep the energy flowing. When we walked in the studio, it was different.
No,
it
just
was
like
refreshing.
your chocolate. Once you don't change, and then it gets stuck, and then you're constantly, that's what causes disease. And then,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you don't flow and go with the change.
Right. It does. It causes disease. And like when we walked in the studio, Mario had changed the studio. He moved the energy. He kept the energy flowing.
I noticed that too.
Like, that's what you do. That's healthy, instead of saying, I must have this chair sitting here in this corner because this is what's holding the whole business together. It's the chair sitting in that corner. Like, no. Like, move it. If something's stuck in your life, start moving the stuff around.
That's true.
It'll work. Even if you move furniture in your house.
Witnessed that firsthand.
Yes. Yeah, you just start moving energy around and something's going to change.
That's honest. That is the truth. It might sound crazy, but it's true.
Yeah, it is true. And it makes it, it's just that you got to open your windows.
Like, after my dad passed, started like cleaning stuff up around the garage, cleaning up outside, stuff that's been sitting there for 40 years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And getting rid of that stuck energy, whether it's donating it, selling it, dumping it, whatever it was, it created space.
Right.
For a blessing to come in, and it really does.
It really does.
People don't understand, like, the objects that just hang around. It affects your whole energy field. It really does.
Yeah, it does.
I've witnessed that.
No, I either want an object to be if I'm not using it, I want it to go to someone who can, or sell it.
And so you've taught me a lot on that. Like, I'm more apt to move things now.
Right. Because
I could keep stuff from high school that I still wear.
Because you're the same size, which is a whole amazement thing.
And I still got stuff from high school I still wear, but it's just certain things that I like. And I mean, but now I'm like, oh, it's been sitting there for a year. I can donate this.
Yeah, you can.
And that's huge for me. Like today I got rid of a pair of pants. So I thought, I'll donate these instead of staring at them.
Yeah. No, I'm always like, if somebody can use something and I'm not using it on a daily basis, let's go do that. Because here's the thing. I think also our grandmothers and our moms, they didn't have stores convenient, and it wasn't easy for them to order things. Like, to me, it almost saves me money just to donate it, and I get a new one because it just clogs up my life to have things sitting there.
She always has a pile of something.
I do, because I'm like, I have piles, and I'm like, oh, that's going to go to the studio and see if Mario
can go to Goodwill. We're just going to dump this. But there's always a pile going on at our house.
Because it just...
And now I'm like, honor the pile.
It's just stressful for me.
I'm just like, throw it in the pile.
And I do think that that's also a symptom of ADHD. To like, if I don't have something, if I'm not using it, it needs to just go on its merry way. The only thing I wish is I'm really into vintage clothing. I love vintage clothing, and I am. I love that women will save clothes from like the 70s or the 80s. I think that's so cool. But like, I just can't. Like, I can't. I'm like, look, I haven't worn this in a year. We're done.
I have something from the 80s. That jacket.
I think that's cool. Yeah.
And I can still wear it.
She can.
It's like,
Yeah, she can still wear it.
it's my Michael Jordan jacket.
Yes.
The Bulls.
Yes.
Vintage.
So
From when I was a child.
that's what we do now together. We run businesses, and that changes the dynamic of relationships, really, because it becomes non-egocentric.
Mm-hmm.
And more of how can we make life flow together better.
Yeah, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, she's to the point where I was going to wash the sheets on the bed. And she's like, no, just throw them in the pile. I'll take them to go get them washed. And I'm going,
that's just nonsense.
she calls it nonsense. I'm like, it is nonsense. I get it.
I was like, why are you exerting energy on that? Like, I can pay for that to get done. It's fine. Like, go run your business. Like,
I said, okay.
Like, really, there's no badge in life saying you did all the laundry. Like,
I mean, it's not like I was excited about doing it, but you said you can take them. I thought, let's do it.
and it wasn't, even with our laundry and the sheets and everything, it wasn't that much money to like pay.
It's
I'm
nice.
like happy
And
to.
it comes back all folded and nice. All you do is put it up. It's pretty cool.
And also, like, I'm giving money to a small business. It's fine.
I mean, it's a win-win. It's really nice.
I mean, it's fine.
I'm
Like,
not gonna lie. I'm like, I like this.
and I've learned about money and finance with it a lot. Like, just running a business, you don't really understand money, I don't think, until you run a business and learn overhead and profit. You just don't. And you don't learn like the grit, and really understanding why you're doing something.
There's so many details involved.
Yeah, I know people are like, oh, I could do that, Andrea. I could do that. And I'm like,
The retreat.
great. So let's come to the planning meeting. We're going to do this. You want to come meet
Are you
with
talking about doing retreats?
Yeah. And I'll be like, yes, come to the planning meeting. Like, you want to go over the menu? Let's go over the budget.
I know what's involved. That's why
And
I'm like,
the roommate situation. This is my diet. You want to draw the diagram
she's
for
like
me?
the queen at it. Me, I'm like,
and they're like,
I'm not that good at it. I'm like, that's your room. What's the problem?
I'm like, they're like, then when I have people sort of come at me with I have a corporate background, I can do this better. And I'm like, this is fabulous. Let's have a meeting. Once I have a meeting with them, they're like, I'm good. I think you've got this. And I'm like, yeah, I think I do. Because spiritual businesses do not run like corporate businesses. That's it. Spiritual businesses do not run like corporate businesses.
So what's the difference?
The difference is I'm meeting the needs of the people, and I'm not meeting labor costs.
Okay.
Like, I'm meeting like the needs of the people. Like, I don't look at labor necessarily of as much as do I have the needs met of the women. And that changes your whole profit margin. And also, like, I'm not making I don't have like corporate overhead people that I've got to make happy. Now that I do have some investors, and I do keep them in mind, like, I ask them for their feedback. I do. I'm like, what do you think about this? Mm-hmm. Because if they've invested in my business, it means they understand the vision. Right. And they normally have run similar businesses. Mm-hmm. Right. So I do ask for feedback from people who invest, but my investors respect my opinion. Mm-hmm. No one forces me to make a decision.
And feedback's very important.
Feedback's very important from other people who run similar businesses. You
learn, that's another thing about business, feedback. Sometimes you got to have that protective layer over you, not to take it personal or.
No, I used to take it personal when I was first doing this, and I would call retreat centers and stuff, and they would be like, well, you need to be part of the Baptist Union or the Baptist or the Methodist. We only rent to our religious. And I used to get mad about that. And now I don't. You know what? That's their investors. I get it. No, and now I just go on with life.
No, you just move on.
I just move on.
Like you said, it's like moving on.
I don't hang up. Because there's always another organization who welcomes us, who thinks we're so cool. Every organization I've ever been to, when we grow out or move on, they always message me back and they're like, oh, we missed you. We missed your group this year.
Yeah, the ones that we've been doing retreats with, they're amazing.
Yes, they're amazing. And they, one of the women that moved away and stopped working at the retreat center, she's got me on Facebook. She was like, I really missed your group. And you don't realize the impact you're having. Mm-hmm. On even like the staff and like
that's what I was saying when you get a text or something about 2 years later, you don't realize that. You're like, oh dang, okay, this person's grown so much.
Yeah.
Like, from your influence or your advice or just that little bit of pep talk,
Yeah.
You've influenced these women so much.
Thank you. I just do it intuitively. You have to allow for intuition to be led. Not corporations don't really allow for intuition. Okay, the high ups do, like the presidents, the CEOs. But it's like they marginalize the rest of the employees. That's kind of the difference too. Like you have like people at the top, and they're definitely seeing astrologers and psychics and meditating.
You wouldn't believe how real that is.
But then the people down here, they're not going to even offer that to those people. The people answering the phones.
No, you would not. That's the thing. You would not believe the people that are business high ups, how much they want feedback, information, wisdom from psychics, from astrologers, because they know, like astrology.
Yes.
Astronomy is very, very
so important.
It influences you. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I'll ask too. I usually ask an astrologer that knows more about astrology than me. I usually go to my boss and I'll say, I want to do this. What's the aspects that day? Is that are the aspects good for this event? And she'll look on the calendar and she'll be like, sometimes she'll say, no, those aspects are not good.
Yeah, like a couple of weeks ago, it was just a weird week. Like
this
mishap. It was just a strange week, and sure enough, the aspects were like wacky.
She told me, she was like, no, the aspects are bad all week. Don't worry about anything. Don't even.
Yeah, because it was a wild week, and it was the aspects of the planets.
Yes, and I knew just to stand down that week, just to relax and breathe. And then the week shifted, and then I was like, okay, I can do stuff this week. So in corporate, not all of them. There's some ethical corporations, but a majority of them, I noticed, is the people that are doing the work, the people at the bottom, they don't have like a mentor saying, if you want to get promoted, why don't you try meditating on that? Or, see what they're not given those same opportunities as the people at the top, right? The people at the top, they're going on whole meditation retreats. The people answering the phones and mopping the floors and serving the customers are not. Right? It's marginalization of the working class. It's absolutely marginalization of the working class. And my organization runs as, no, I'm going to go to the woman who, whenever, even at the retreats, the woman cooking, she's not a housekeeper or a cook. And I make it a point of like, no, she sits at my table and you respect her. Like the people that are taking the trash out.
On anybody.
Absolutely no. The people that are taking the trash out, I'm like, come and share a meal with us. Right? You can sit at the table. And that's the difference too. Whereas corporations, they have a handful of people at the top marginalizing the working class. And like, I'm not going to do that like at all. And I make sure that people are empowered to do what they want to do. I'm like, just tell me what you want to do. And I really find a way to try to get people to be comfortable with their gifts.
Yes, you're very good at that.
Yeah. Like, don't hide your gifts. Why are you hiding that gift? And they look at me like, how did you know?
No, you're very good at that.
Like, why are you hiding your gifts? Do your gift. Or I'll say, did you really think you were going to get away with not sharing your gift? So that's what we do too, is I don't marginalize anyone. And I have that's because I know what it's like to be marginalized. I know what it's like to be left out of things. And here's the thing, just not giving the opportunity. Like, going back to like elementary school or high school when I couldn't participate in some things and no reason why, I remember thinking, well, they could have let me try, right? They could have let me try. And in the corporate world too, I remember thinking, well, they could give me a shot at a different position. Like what would hurt? What would hurt? What would have that hurt? To give me a shot at a promotion or something. But that's different too. I let people sit with their gifts. And of course, I think sometimes they get a little overwhelmed. Because they're like, you just saw my gift and you're not making me hide it. I'm like, no. Oh, a woman told me last week, she said, Andrea, how do you let people shine and still have boundaries? And I said, well, because it's not all about me. Like, and honestly, the more I let people shine, the more I'm lifted up too.
Well, that's true. When you heal somebody else, you're healing yourself too. Very true.
Yeah, we are. And then you come in and you immediately put the women at ease when you come in. They just love your energy. And I know it's because you have that. You carry more masculine energy than I do, and it puts women at ease subconsciously, even if it's not a conscious thing. So people are like, well, where's Felicia? I'm like, she's on her way. And I'm like, no, Felicia holds the whole organization together. You're there early with me, helping set up beds. Like, making sure people are happy. If somebody needs something, you'll go and make sure they have what they need. You went and got Glenda a cane one year. Yeah, and you were like, no, we'll get you a cane.
I went to the antique shop and bought her one.
Yeah, and that like made her life. She was like, you saw me and you provided. And in her mind, she was like, no, there was a masculine energy in the room that did that. And yeah, that's what. So when you are a woman that carries more masculine energy, I think that's fabulous. And there's definitely a room for you at our organization without it being weird or awkward. A lot of masculine women are like, I just can't do all that femininity. And I'm like, no, we have a whole range.
No, it's a balance thing.
Yeah, whole range of women. So every day I have like publications and oracle decks and all the things, and it doesn't come without stress.
So your decks are going to be for sale, right?
Yes, and my decks are
when
going to be
your new
for
ones
sale.
coming
In the next few weeks. I'm still working on the outside box of it, but I've got a nature deck of my photography, and I've got the mediumship deck, which I'm so excited about the mediumship deck.
So when's it coming out?
In the next 6 months. Where it's for sale, it's like a whole thing to create a deck. It's like a whole thing.
I just didn't know if somebody wanted to purchase just what.
No, come see me, and I'm working on expansion.
The really cool decks.
Expansion of the store. So my recommendation to everyone listening, have a notebook. When you get an idea, write it down.
Yes.
Write it down when you get an idea, and then do little steps to make it happen.
I used to write everything down. I carried a little notepad with me just to write stuff down. It was like I'd be challenged so much, and I'd be like, I don't know what this is, but okay.
Yeah, and when you get bullied, the bullies fade away. They go away. It's fine. Like, of course, you're going to get bullied. All the great women get bullied.
Once the Indigo Girls.
Yes.
Once you learn to love yourself, all the stones that are cast will dissolve.
Oh, they totally dissolve.
That's my favorite quote. I love you, Indigo Girls.
And then when a woman is good at something, I've experienced this firsthand, when a woman in a room is good at something, then there's a toxic man in the room.
That's always fun.
He like crumbles into like thousands of pieces on the floor and just tantrums. It's like the weirdest thing. I'll just look over and I'm not even bothering anyone. I'm just sitting there doing my thing, and they're just like, there's like a man tantruming on the floor. And I don't even say anything. I'm just like, huh, okay.
You're not coming to my retreat.
Well, overall, the world is made for men. The world is still made for men, however you spin it, right? And I try to have a world that's made for women. That's what I offer. Give them space to ask questions, to grow, to take up space. Yeah.
You're fabulous at it.
Thank you. So are you. With all your clients. You just hide in the background with your clients. Yeah.
That's what I do. I let the people find me.
Yeah.
It's an energy thing for me. Like, if you really need my healing, you'll find me, That's how I work. I'm not real big on advertising. I let the energy find me.
You let the energy, and then you provide solid foundations for people around you, and that's important. And with any business, it's vibrational energy. I mean, you're only going to find people that are in your vibration. Like, I have not done a ton of advertising in the world of marketing and advertising.
I'm just not never have been. It's not nothing personal. I'm just like, my brain doesn't go there.
No, and that's okay. Well, the world's changing so much around marketing and advertising, and it's very, it's not as much of an even playing field as it used to be. Oh, algorithms. Oh, I was having a conversation. Okay, I was talking to an IT person yesterday.
Okay.
And she was telling me that the algorithms actually are made specifically to influence the way your brain works.
Well, that makes sense.
She was like, algorithms are kind of scary, actually. Like,
that's why when you think of something, it pops
up. Yeah, it's scary. No, that happens to me all the time. I'll think, I need to buy this, and I won't even say it out loud, and then it pops up.
No, that makes sense. It's been happening for years.
That's scary. Yeah, and it's
imagine how it can influence your brain.
And then I wonder about all the kids like me and you that were tested early on. Where were they? Were they testing us for this? Like, what were they testing?
I don't know. I swear to you, I'm gonna ask my mother when I get back. Do you remember that? She'd be like,
no, she doesn't. They didn't tell our parents.
No, they did not.
And then back in the 80s,
that's why I thought I'd making it up all these years. I'm thinking, but it was a memory that was very burned in my brain, like of having this testing done. I remember when I got picked up. I remember I was so excited because I did so good on this test.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
And then I thought I made it up.
Yeah, they would always take me to like McDonald's, something fun afterwards.
Yeah, we went to Dairy Queen.
Yeah, like McDonald's or Dairy Queen afterwards to kind of make it like a fun thing.
But it wasn't even, my dad picked me up, which is a rare thing at the time. And he picked my sister up from daycare. And it was after I had that, it was the weirdest thing. I know he didn't know about it either.
No, he didn't. They're clueless. When the 80s, the parents literally, they kind of just trusted the school system. Like I don't think they even knew to ask.
No, now I look back, I'm like, that's some weird stuff.
It really was.
What were they testing it? What were y'all testing?
What were they testing us for? This is what we want to know. And I know my mind does work different than other people my age. Like I can see it now. And I'm very much like not groomable. Like I don't fall for anything.
No, you were just very intuitive and very psychic.
Yeah, I don't fall for anything, and I don't fall into like whatever mainstream society tells us to do. And I never have. And it's not that I don't want to. It's not that I was fighting against it. It just didn't work.
Well, just honor who you are.
I just honor. And so I wonder if those people, if that's what we were not being tested around.
I don't know. That's very interesting, though. I'm going to ask my mother when I get back. I'm like, look.
You know what? All the people I know that have had those testing were all entrepreneurs. We're all interested in like spirituality.
That is very intriguing.
We're all able to like have deep conversations, and none of us, all the people that I know that have had these conversations with, none of us live a traditional life. So either we were tested for who we were.
We're putting a pattern together now.
Or we were made this way. Like, and we'll never really know.
I'm going to have to ask my sister if they did it to her, because we went to the same daycare.
Yeah.
It's interesting. What y'all test me for?
Right. I know, and I'm not, sometimes I wonder if there's like my DNA not floating around out there somewhere.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like, what are they using my DNA for? When I go to the doctor, I wonder that too. If they take blood or something, I'm like, where is this DNA really going?
Huh.
I mean,
I got my blood taken the other day.
Yeah.
What they do in my blood?
What they do with it, we don't really know where it goes. I think the nurse at the hospital probably just looks at it and gets what they need, but I wonder where it goes after
I could
that.
sell my blood.
Yeah.
Or it's negative.
So, we grow in consciousness.
I think you can. I think you get more money for it.
Yeah, but you have to have.
I ain't giving my blood though.
No, I'm not either. You have to have like
been anemic. I ain't giving blood.
Like a whatever it is that they tested us for. There's a whole group of us out there, and we're with harnessing your divine
And it's interesting, like
feminine.
finding somebody else that like the same story you thought you made up in the back of your mind, and then they'll say something, and you're like, you went through that too,
Right? Yeah.
And it's like a memory comes flushing back, and it's just like, what was that?
Right. Like we just never. It's not even a horrible memory. It's
now
just
in Alabama, like, that's
you
intriguing.
realize that wasn't normal. Like
I
you
wouldn't
realize
want nobody
you're like,
testing my child.
No. So then there's a whole tribe of us that are odd. And you can join us at Harnessing Your Divine Feminine. We have 2 retreats a year, a magazine, and a podcast. So you can find us anywhere. Just email me. Go to the website, HYDF.online, and you can ask for a referral. You can ask for a session with me. We have just really, we're
very diverse, but yet we're very unified.
Right. So we're about giving women opportunities. And if you want to, when you give a woman an opportunity, you're giving her the world. Thank you for listening or watching today. Namaste.
The Harnessing Your Divine Feminine show is produced by 8 Robinsons TV. Subscribe for only $30 per year for access to exclusive and archived content. Visit www.8ROBINSONS.tv. Thank you for watching.